2021 was probably the wildest year for cryptocurrencies yet, and we're only a few months in. While we're seeing insane peaks being reached by cryptos such as Bitcoin and Dogecoin, while also seeing a lot of volatility, the one question on everyone's mind is, when will there be the next crypto crash?
I think that I sort of took you by surprise.
In this video, we'll try to look at the market conditions and predict when the next major crypto crash will be, while also taking a look at what might cause it and why it's inevitable. Here's the next crypto crash. How do cryptos crash? If you look at crypto trends for the past year, it's clear that cryptocurrency has turned out not only to be a much more profitable investment than stocks, but it has also become more stable than ever before and is becoming a more viable means of exchange day by day. But don't get too excited about the rallying currencies. Often seeing such a massive growth in price will mean the bubble will eventually burst. Signs of a burst are already showing, and people who have invested their savings in stocks will likely see huge losses. First, you have to understand that the crypto market doesn't work the same way as the stock market. A massive crash of the largest company on the stock market might make the stock market as a whole crash, while if Bitcoin saw a huge drop in the price, it might not affect other cryptocurrencies at all. But that's not to say it won't have an influence on the buyers. The average buyer might see the crash of Bitcoin and lose their faith in cryptocurrency overall. But it's still best to analyze cryptocurrencies individually, rather than as a whole. We're going to analyze some of the biggest names in crypto and predict when their next crash might be. But first, we're going to take a look at some previous major crypto crashes. Past crashes. Many cryptos have seen insane crashes over the past, but perhaps none is more famous than the great crypto crash of 2017. It was in 2017 when cryptocurrencies finally started to be taken seriously as an investment. Bitcoin's price had skyrocketed to over $15,000, and all people could talk about were the gains of a few fortunate people who trusted the system from the start. Despite the year being great for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in general, it created a massive bubble of new, inexperienced investors who wanted in on the crypto craze. While long-term investors in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were looking to finally profit off of their investments and sell everything they had. Thus, a bubble was about to burst, and it did. After hitting an all-time high of almost $20,000 in December of 2017, the price crashed to $11,000 just a week later. It had seen some recovery in January of 2018, but the price kept getting lower and lower every month until it went as low as $3,000 in December of that year. This was the first big cryptocurrency bubble and the first big cryptocurrency crash to ever happen. The causes of this crash were very clear. The first being that people wanted to cash in on their gains. At the time, even people who had invested thousands in cryptocurrencies weren't truly trusting of cryptos to actually hold their money there. It wasn't a trustworthy thing to do, and there was even some justification for it. Events such as CoinCheck getting hacked and over $530 million worth of crypto being stolen from it made people lose trust in the crypto trading even more. Outside of that, the extremely fast rise and high prices of these cryptocurrencies meant people thought that they had already missed out on any possible gains and were demotivated from investing anything into them. One of the biggest issues crypto faces in those days was its reputation. There was an entire coordinated media and establishment effort to discredit cryptocurrencies with an emphasis on Bitcoin. It wasn't long after Bitcoin had embarrassed financial institutions that major players like George Soros, the world's leading economist, and heads of central banks and major banks around the world started to call Bitcoin a bubble and a fraud. Since then, many of those CEOs and officials have actually walked back on their words. The CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, who called Bitcoin a fraud, apologized for his comments a few years later and regretted his words. Today, JP Morgan is actively invested in the cryptocurrency market and may even launch its own digital currency. Many of the problems faced by cryptocurrencies then will not be faced by cryptocurrencies now. The trust is much higher than before. What's next? In order to find out what the next big crypto crash will be, we need to take a look at the market for the past year. Now, there are way too many cryptocurrencies to be analyzed, so we're going to keep it limited to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum were the currencies that majorly benefited from the 2017 boom, reaching all-time highs, and they both saw huge crashes in the following year. From December of 2016 to January of 2018, Ethereum saw a 17,000% increase in its price. During the same time period, Bitcoin saw a 1,600% increase in its price. The following year, Ethereum lost over 88% of its value, becoming even less valuable than it was before the boom, while Bitcoin lost over 81% of its value. From that, we can learn that the vast majority of their value was a speculative bubble that lasted a little over 4 months. Now, if we look at the latest trends, Ethereum has once again reached an all-time high price of over $2,000, where it hovers around these days, while Bitcoin has reached an all-time high of over $61,000 in March. This time, though, their boosts have been much more gradual, but still quite instant when compared to stock. Bitcoin has grown by over 700% in the past year, while Ethereum has grown by over 1,200%. This is a lower increase when you compare it to their previous booms, which can mean there is still much more room to grow, or the markets simply don't believe that they can succeed the way they used to. I'm more inclined to believe that there is a lot more room to grow for these currencies. Cryptocurrencies have never before been so mainstreamed, widely accepted, and seen this kind of attention before. The majority of this attention is going to Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are the industry standards when it comes to cryptocurrency. In any case, we've seen from prior trends that this type of growth is nothing for cryptocurrencies. While their wide acceptance can mean that their value is no longer something that is just speculative, Bitcoin's market value comfortably sits at over $600 billion, which is larger than most countries on Earth. This isn't just made-up money, but actual value. Governments and banks are jumping to crypto faster than ever, with even China announcing its own crypto being launched by the government. But it's not going to be forever. There has been some legitimate value gained by both Ethereum and Bitcoin, but they eventually will crash, and there will be no stop to it. The question remains, when? In the past year, Bitcoin has been 3 major spurts of growth with a mini crash following it. This is much more like how we see fast-rising stocks like Tesla or Apple grow. Rather than cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin that go all over the place, Ethereum saw one long period of growth followed by a downturn, which was then followed by a short peak and then another downturn, and currently it's at another peak. Since they're both hitting steady new peaks month after month, it's getting significantly harder to predict when the next crash will be. By crash, we don't mean the slumps that BTC and Ether see all the time since their recent success, but we mean an actual market crash in which they lose the majority of their value, if that ever happens. If BTC and Ether see yet another major peak, it would be best to simply sell, because a crash after a 4th peak in a year would simply be inevitable. If Bitcoin crashes, so will Ethereum, and vice versa. But if you plan on keeping your BTC or your Ether, it wouldn't be a bad choice either. They're much less volatile than they used to be. They could potentially keep growing forever, although that's unlikely. Many people are predicting a crash, but the attitude of crypto investors is much more different than it used to be. Many are willing to hold for a long period since the recent recoveries show that both of these cryptos can recover from a major crash. Conclusion. Since the crypto market is completely unregulated, there aren't any insiders to leak info on their future performance indicators. So all we can really do is predict. It isn't a given that the crash will even happen, as if it does, the recovery period might be faster than any of us expect. Just remember that if you're invested in crypto and the value does crash, do not sell it at a low price, because as we've seen before, they can easily recover to new heights, and the crypto industry is just getting started. Always do your full research before investing in any crypto, and our channel has more than a few videos to help you get started. That's a wrap for the next crypto crash. Do you think any of these cryptos are nearing a crash, or is it all just useless panic? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you next time.